Saturday, April 10th, 2021. That's where we're at. This is the day. It's the only day we have today. One day at a time. Good morning, good morning, good morning, my friend. How are you today? I know I'm like Saturday morning, just all chill and just taking advantage of not working today. I'm going to be babysitting my grandbabies in just a little while. And then I have a great friend coming over this afternoon. So this morning, together we rise with Rise and Grind. Yes, that's a hashtag that comes from a great friend of mine, Michelle McLean, and a group in hashtag Rise and Grind. If you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to come over there, and you can invite yourself in, and one of us moderators will gladly invite you in. So again, this morning, Rise and Grind this Saturday, April 10th. Can you believe it's already almost half the month is gone already, and it's just been flying by. So here's a drink to that. And good morning, my friend. So I want to talk about a topic that happened this week, and it's not news to me. I've had many people in my life that have passed away, so it isn't new to me. But what is new to me is social media and the things that we talk about. And so my uncle had passed away this week. My dad's only living brother out of, I want to say 7 kids. And my dad will be 80. Well, hi, Mr. Glenn Nozek. How are you? So my dad will have passed away. My dad will be 80 in April 13th. Oh, my goodness, a few days from now. And his brother had passed away last week. And I have been really struggling with some things that have been going on, and I'm not gonna. Hey, Teresa, happy I always have you here, my love. And so, my cousin had started posting the obituaries of my uncle, and I had to go back and say, no, this isn't right. The name is wrong. You spelled it wrong. And then finally, all of the pieces came together, and I got it all squared away. And so I sent the link over to my brother my half brother who lives with my dad and my stepmom in Arizona. And so I sent them the link, and my dad was very grateful to receive that, and everything looked great. And then the day of the funeral, they had put out the link again, and I was like, seriously? Like, how did that even happen? So the name's wrong again, and they didn't. So for example, my dad's name is Billy, and Billy is not his name. His name is Gerald Eugene Mullenix. And my brother, who had passed away, well, I'm going to say committed suicide in 1989, was named after my dad. So my brother's name was Gerald Eugene Mullenix Jr. Well, in the obituary, they kept putting my other uncle Larry or Junior as my dad's name. I'm like, that's not how it works. There's too many kids, too much to know, and just trying to figure this out. So the reason I'm telling you this story is because I know that there's somebody out there that can relate to this. Okay, and so that anyway, it was like that's how it worked out. Well, in the middle of all this, so my cousin goes to work. So his dad passes away, I think it was like a Thursday or Friday, and I don't remember which one. And then my cousin goes to work in the middle of all this. And I made a comment, and I said, why are you at work? And he said, well, why wouldn't I be at work? And I'm like, well, I don't know, because your dad just passed away, and, thought maybe you might be with family and helping with, funeral arrangements and that sort of thing. That's kind of, just how things work. And he was like, something happened, and instead of responding, he just deleted the whole commentary. And I was like, that's great. So obviously, that's his way of dealing with grief, and that's great. Whatever works for you and whatever your beliefs are around things, and that works for you, I highly respect that. And then the next day, there comes a post, and it just says these really awful things about my uncle that my cousin had written. And I'm like, what is going on? And I was even struggling with the idea of talking about this today or not. And this isn't to oust him, and this isn't to put him down or to shame him. I I'm just really wanting to get to the story of what I believe about his belief. Okay, so because we all have our own beliefs about things. So he writes this story about my uncle, and it was awful. And I was mad because I didn't come into my real full-blooded side of the family till I was 12 and 13. And there's a whole other story. We can talk about that on a whole other day. And anyway, so I come into the family about that time. So I'm meeting, obviously, all my relatives. I meet all my aunts. I meet all my uncles. And I've had this relationship with my uncle that passed away that has always been very, very positive. He's always been very kind. He's a very gentle spirit. And, obviously everybody has their own things. And when we were younger, we all, I'm going to say me, have done some really dumb things, And so he was talking about, how his dad was a womanizer and that he didn't understand how his dad could do some things. Now, mind you, my cousin's 51, so this is going to be very relevant to this story. So my cousin's talking about all these things about his dad that he just didn't understand, and how his dad had came from a family that didn't know how to show love. And I'm like, what? Our grandparents, their home was always full of people. Always. There was never a time that whenever I went to their house that there wasn't and they lived in a little itty bitty home in a little tiny town called Canton, South Dakota. Everybody knew my grandparents. My grandpa was a welder, and they were so well loved and respected. So for somebody who's so well loved and respected, how can a person possibly say that someone that they know grew up in a home without love? Like, that just, like, my brain, I couldn't even wrap my brain around that. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? So then he started talking and sharing a story about, his mom, saying these things about his dad. And yes, I know that there was a time when his mom was married to his dad, that there was a lot of different turmoil and things like that. Just like my mom and my stepdad had, my mom and my stepdad had a very tumultuous marriage. Like, it was a very domestic violent household that I grew up in. And I'm thinking, you did not have that. You did not have that. You don't even know what that is. And then he posted a picture also of my brother, because he had said, and he was saying too, he's like, well, I'm going through my dad's things and came upon these pictures. And so he started posting all these pictures. And again, so all of these things that he was saying that he didn't like about his dad that really truly upset him and didn't understand a lot of things. But in the visual sense, he's posting all these amazing pictures about his dad. And there was a lot of them about him with his dad, whom he just claimed never did anything with him. So I'm thinking, what, again, are you talking about? And so now I'm getting mad, because I'm like, you are so contradicting everything that you even just said in, first of all, in your hateful little, conversation to us about your dad. And I have cousins, and we were, DMing each other going, what the hell is going on? Blah, blah, blah. And we all agreed, like, none of us have ever seen that side of my uncle. Ever. Not a one of us. So, but again, we didn't live in the house. So my mantra, my new one is what you see, what you don't see, right? So I call my dad, and my cousin had also written this letter to his dad in 1990. And so he had posted that too. And he told his dad, how much he hated him for this and that, and how worthless he was. And, how his mom's boyfriend was the person in his life that he, basically respected and admired. And I thought about that, and I was like, I couldn't respond to anything. Not a thing, because I was too emotionally involved in it at the moment, because I was so upset about the things that he was writing. And not the letter, because I've written letters to my stepdad, and I never gave them to him, but I wrote the letters, and then I either burned it or I crinkled it up and I threw it down the river and washed the crud away, right? So it was a letting go of that which hurt me. And I didn't require having to express that to my stepdad personally in his face. I didn't need the backlash, right? I didn't or wanted to have that happen. So I was thinking about all this and I thought, well, that very well could be the case. But my cousin showed up at so my dad would come from Washington, or my dad comes from Arizona where he lives now, and we all would get together at my cousin's house on the lake in South Dakota. And again, I'm thinking, how can you honestly say that your dad does not love you when there was every opportunity that every time we all got together, you were there? So again, there was such contradiction going in this whole story of his that he had written. And so then I had to just sit on it, because he also posted a picture of my brother. My brother committed suicide in 1989, and he's like, yeah, this is a really great guy. And I'm thinking, you have no idea what happened to my brother. No idea. My brother was so brutally beaten when he was a child, and there's a lot of stuff I can talk about. I'm not going to get into that right now. And I'm thinking, and you're mad at your dad because he didn't give you money for graduation, he didn't buy you a car, and those were like really the two biggest things he was upset about, that his dad wasn't there monetarily for him, and when he just wanted him when he wanted him. So anyway, this whole story that he wrote about his uncle really was about him, right? There was no, it's like, let's slam my dad. This is about me. This is how I feel. This is how, things are. And so I had to really think about that. And then I decided, like, you know what? You're right. You are right. And because whether we think somebody is right or wrong, they are right. Okay? And I want to explain this. They're right because it's their belief about what has happened to them or for them, or whatever there is. So he can play victim and he can, do all these things, but what is your part in that, right? Because you're 51 years old and you're writing all this. Your dad had just died, and you write all these things, and you're sharing this story, this awful story about your dad now to everybody, because he expressed this too. He's like, yeah, I told the guy at work, and then another guy asked me about it, and I told him this and this. They both agreed. They're like, well, that's why you're such a great dad, because you don't want to be like your dad. And I thought, again, so those people that we don't want to be like are our greatest teachers. So I made a post about that yesterday, and it's very, very true. And even the story that my cousin told about my uncle was somebody, I don't want to be like that. Like, I don't want to be like that. And so it taught me a really valuable lesson again. So these things that we don't like about somebody else, or the things that we don't like about their beliefs about something, doesn't mean we have to hate on them about it. For one, that's how wars get started. This is how riots get started, because of this level of hatred about what somebody else believes. So if we all agreed to disagree about what other people think or say or do, this world would be a much, much better place. And so I'm thinking about this story that my cousin has about my uncle, and I thought, you know what? I respect him for how he feels. And I can have empathy for what he feels has happened to him. And again, I've not ever seen that. And my mom and my uncle were so, so close. Obviously, my mom can't speak. My mom has dementia, so I can't even talk to her about it. And my mom would have a completely different story about what my cousin has to say. Just like my dad, when I talked to my dad was very hurt, because my dad and my uncle are super, super close. And my dad was like, there is no way that my brother would ever have done the stuff that he talks about. And especially when it came to our grandparents. And my dad was like, he said, what? I said, I know. He said that grandma and grandpa didn't love on you guys, and that you guys grew up without love. And I said, I thought that was kind of interesting too, because I said, I have 3 aunts who were really super loving. Like, I was so welcome in their homes. And I even spent a lot of time at my my one aunt and uncle's home. And I'm like, so again, maybe what if that were true? I don't know. I didn't grow up with my grandma and grandpa. I didn't live in their house either. And my dad was like, that is so not even close to being the truth. So everybody has their own ideas and their own beliefs about everything, right? So I can say I grew up in a very domestic, violent household. My brothers, my three younger brothers, in the beginning, up until they were, I want to say like 7, 9 years old, they lived it and breathed it too. But my youngest brother has no recollection of any of that. He was just a baby, so he doesn't even really have any idea about that. So his belief about what happened in our house is completely different than mine. And my middle brother, his idea of what has happened is completely different than mine. Like, he is so closed off from relationships, like it's just blows my mind. And so, and each one of us had different things. I had one of my other brothers grew up with an aunt and uncle. So we all have our beliefs about how things were and how people treated us. So again, life happens to us, and it's up to us how we react or respond to that, right? So our beliefs come and stem from all these different things. And it could even be something simple as somebody making a comment in school, like one of your school friends, that can really shift your thinking and just really change the trajectory of your life. So we don't know exactly where a lot of things come from. It can because everything we think and believe comes from different sources. And obviously when we're young too, we get told so many different things. And oh my gosh, oh my goodness, excuse me. We could have these, I'm talking so much about air, and it's like air coming out. And so we can have all these different beliefs that are coming in from all different areas. So there's not really one person to blame, so to speak, for certain things. Some of it you definitely know who it came from, how it came from, but there's a lot of things, a lot of our beliefs come from other sources that are so buried deep inside that we don't even know where they came from or who exactly what triggered something to change, your thought process. So I just wanted to share that story today because it obviously has been heavy on my heart. I thought, you know what? This is what we do at Grandma's on a Mission. We talk about true stories. We talk about life experiences. We talk about, what do we do or how can we change the outcome of certain things. And this was one of them. And like I said, so I really respect him, my cousin, for the beliefs that he has, around his dad. That's his thing, right? But I'm choosing to look at it a different way. I have a love for my uncle, who was just very sweet and kind, and nothing but respect for the guy. And again, though, I came into the whole picture of everybody later on in life, so I didn't grow up with any of that. And they didn't grow up with how I grew up. In fact, when my dad was here a couple years ago, I sat down with my dad and I had a long talk with him. And so at 59 years old, my dad's staying at my house, and we finally had the longest conversation about my childhood that my dad has never heard. And I had a great conversation with my dad about things about him that I never knew. And I had said to him, and it was, half joking, half not. And I said, gee, thanks for, leaving us with a freaking monster, right? And my dad felt horrible. And I'm like, but he can own some of that because he walked away from everything, but I'm not going to blame him for everything. My mom obviously was a part of that, and I was too young to understand and know what was going on. Now later in my older years, wise and wisdom, if you will, I went to AA and learned all about alcoholism and the disease and the effects, what forgiveness can do. And, that's a big piece for Larry. Oh, I was going to say his name. My cousin is for him to, I pray for him to find a place of forgiveness. He posts a lot of things about Christ and, his beliefs about things, and he is about the universe and stuff like that. And so I just want to pray on him peace and find love, and hopefully he can turn it around. And that was one of the things that my dad and I had talked about is he's 51 years old. Why didn't he talk to his dad about these things while his dad was alive, and then just blast this like this all over social media? So that was what I wasn't happy about. But again, it's his belief about it, and that's what he chose to do. What I chose to do was not react to it. I mean, I reacted, but not respond to any of the things that he had to say. Because when he posted that picture of my brother, I so badly wanted to write, first of all, how dare you? You don't know my brother. And secondly, again, I just wanted to be mean and say, really? Like, my brother committed suicide and had an awful life, and you're upset that your dad just didn't give you money for graduation and get you a car? I was like, what the, but again, though it may not be big things to me because I've had some pretty traumatic things in my life, right? And my cousin has every right, though, to feel how he does because those things happen to him. So I'm ending that on this piece of the segment of Grandma's on a Mission on that note that I just pray for him that he finds forgiveness and peace in his heart and, can just come to some kind of, peace that will, get him through hopefully the next 50 years of his life. So with that, I'm going to move into Financial Literacy Month. I'm just going to speak a couple minutes on this. So I was in the tipping industry for years, and it was very customary to spend your tips as fast as you made them. And I've been finding that I'm in the same kind of pattern, so to speak, same kind of spending habits. Well, not so much anymore. Let me clarify that. And I do find, though, that no matter if you make this much money or you make this much money, if your patterns of spending don't change, if you aren't, doing certain things with your money, then things don't ever change. And I've just been having so many aha moments, those moments where Sharon Lechter has a book called 3 Feet from Gold. And I've been reading that, and I'm like, I am never again being 3 feet from gold. And I'm talking about the ability, though, just to be able to spend money, not worry about my financial situation, or not worry about, that I just want to be able to dig in my wallet and just hand out whatever I want to hand out to whoever I want to hand out at any time, right? So that's the goal. And so I'm going through this book and another book called Frank Lopes, the 7-minute setup, and these goals in this book. Not that I haven't had goal books before, and not that I haven't had, mentoring about money before, but there really is a belief around money. And when I really got it, I'm 61, you guys, honest to goodness. When I thought that I was leaving industry years ago, I wanted to leave it a millionaire. Well, I didn't do anything about that. I didn't invest. I didn't save. I spent it, I spent hundreds of dollars on new cars and clothes and stuff, lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff that absolutely made no freaking sense. It was my shopping habits that, it was crazy. And there's a whole thing around that too. We'll talk about that another day. And anyway, so I've been on Clubhouse and engaging in, conversations. It was a challenge to me from Frank. And so I've been going in Clubhouse and listening, and I'm in the Breakfast of Champions the other day, and they're talking about financial literacy because it's Financial Literacy Month. And I realized again, I'm like, I'm not really connected with the people who can really change or help me, assist me to change in the trajectory of my future, right? Teresa's on here watching. Teresa's actually in doing crypto, and she's been teaching me a lot about that. And I've been back and forth about that. And I'm thinking, man, something's got to change. And and I'm just throwing that out there as a thing, right? So there's all kinds of things that we can do to invest in, change our money habits, change our money mindset, because all money really is energy. And if you have a belief blocking that energy, it is blocking your money. And I'm telling you, I know it sounds really woo-woo, wacko, whatever to some people. I'm from my own personal experience, I'm telling you, the blockage of the feels that I have around money is what's keeping me from moving forward. And also, is I don't have a plan. I don't have the financial plan set in place. I don't have let's say I want to make $10,000 this month, but I don't have the backwards way of doing it. I don't have what do I have to do in this step to get to this next step, to the next step. And yeah, I'm putting it out there. I sound absolutely maybe really ridiculously stupid to somebody else. Well, that's your belief about what I'm doing. But here's what happened. I grew up in a family I absolutely shared no idea of what to do with money. I figured it out on my own the best way I knew how, with the knowledge I had at the time. And I had a very pivotal moment the other day. My grandson has $200 saved. And I said, what you going to do with that money? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, I know what you can do. I said, you could put it in a Roth IRA. My daughter's eyes roll back in her head and she's like, really? Really, Mom? And I said, yeah, you know what? I said, I didn't teach you anything about money. I said, I didn't teach your brothers anything about money. I said, but y'all saw me spend it as fast as I made it. And I said, what do you guys do? I said, do you have a savings? Do you have money anywhere? Do I? Absolutely not. So I said, this is ridiculous. So why not teach our kids, my grandkids, how to be a great investor, how to invest in their lives, how to do self-care, how to take care of themselves in this money world that we live in. So I jumped on a Clubhouse room last night too. They were talking about financial literacy and they're talking about kids, obviously. And I had no idea that parents would open up, and do not do this, opened up accounts in their kids' names. So by the time their children are 18, they're ready to want to do whatever it is they want to do in their life. A lot of these parents have wrecked their credit. And I was like, what? Like, I am obviously very naive to a lot of things still. So I'm very grateful that I'm still learning and growing. And I decided I'm diving into this financial literacy this month. And I'm going to learn really how to take care of myself too. I may be 61 and it is one day at a time right now. And it is, life does begin again every single day. And I don't know how much time I have left on the earth, but I can take it for granted that I'm praying I can be around to be 105. That'd be awesome. 115 would be even better. You know, but who's to say? I could leave today, I could leave tomorrow. Nobody knows our end game, right? Oh, and that was the other thing. So I'll get back to that in a second. The epitaph we want on our graves, on our headstone, what do you want it to say about you? I want you to think about that. I want you to write that on a piece of paper. What do you want people to say about you? Because I certainly don't want my daughter or my son to write some horrible, hateful news about me when I die. Like, that's not what I want to have happen. I would really, pray that I have really great relationships with everybody, that I absolutely love and adore, and that there are good things to be said about me. And yes, I know there's haters, and we got to love on those haters. Again, you're loving the haters too, because that's the belief about how they have about things. And that's just the person I don't want to be like. So they teach me really, really great lessons. So I want that to be a lesson for you today too. And then in the financial literacy part, so I thought, you know what? I've got to get this. I've got to learn it. Like, I'm not too old to learn anything, and we learn to grow into, right? So I'm going back to Sharon Lecter's mastery class. I'm going to learn exactly how to do it. Dave Ramsey has a ton of stuff on the money thing, and he talks about even naming your money. And interestingly and oddly enough, 2 years ago, I actually have envelopes that are still sitting over here that have and you name the money. So you name the envelope, so you name that money on where that money goes. So that money has a purpose, and that money has energy to go to, let's say, paying your utility bills, paying your mortgage, or paying, that car payment, or, buying those clothes, or buying that couch, or for us right now is buying a freezer, right? So your money has, or even in investing, in the Roth IRAs. So I hear a lot about Roth IRAs. That's probably one of the best ways to go. I'm going to dive a little bit more into that. I even have Tony Robbins' Money Mastery. So I have no excuses. The only excuse I've had is the one that I've allowed myself to hold me back from whatever goddamn belief I've had about money. And the belief, though, that I only have today. And honestly, that was I don't have to say honestly, has always been my belief. Well, what if I die today? Who's going to care about my money tomorrow, right? So that's how I live, just every single day. So I would just spend money like it was my last day. So how about living life like it was your last day? How about putting all that energy into learning what you can, doing what you can, because this is all we have. Today is the only day that we have, right? So today is April 10th, 2021. So what plans have you created for yourself today to live into this day? So call it what you will. Definitely do a grateful list. I have a book that I write gratefuls in. Do I do it every day? No. But do I say that to my higher power? Yes, I do. Mine is God. And I just say how grateful I am the second my feet hit the floor. Thank you, God, for giving me another day. And then I also ask, is there I am selfish at first because I thank him for that and ask him how he can help me today. But I got to turn it around a little bit too and say, God, whose life can I touch today? Through you, whose life can I touch today? And be grateful for that too. So I want to say that this month I'm going to dive deep into financial literacy. So I'll talk a little bit more about that next Saturday and bring forth a little bit more on that. And so I'm going to end it on happy birthday to you for those of you that have had a birthday week this week. And just have an incredible day today. And I want to thank you so much for staying with me. And feel free. Sorry, Facebook. I know you don't like that word, so don't dock me for that, okay? So I'd love to have you comment below if you'd like. You can share this onto your page. Whatever you want to do, you can share me out, like, comment, and this will also be posted on YouTube. So thank you so much, everyone. Have an incredible day, and I appreciate you so much. Love and hugs. Bye.